Well, you don't even know if I deserve that applause, but sure, I'll take it. Hi, everyone. I hope you're having a good time at DPC. It's nice to have DPC back, right?
Yes, yes.
It's like 4 people in the front row said yes. All right. I don't want to be that guy, but I'm just going to say it one more time. It's nice to have DPC back, right? Yes, there we go. Okay, don't worry. That's the only time I'll ask for audience participation. That and when my live demo goes terribly wrong because I rewrote it yesterday. So I basically brought a curse upon myself. Now I know for a fact that the front seats here are very relaxing, so I think the people here are the closest to a meditative state, so maybe you can pray to the demo gods that everything's going to be all right. Please do that for me. All right, let's get into it. Symfony is rad. Do we have any super seasoned Symfony developers here? Nobody? I find that really hard to believe. Seriously? Okay, so anyone and completely new to Symfony? First time, haven't touched it. Awesome. Anyone who's gotten started into it, he's maybe, okay, cool. And the other people aren't even programmers, I guess? They're here to see you doing or something? I don't know, it's, all right, cool. Don't worry. Whatever your level is, you'll definitely be able to learn some stuff. All right. Before we get started, oh my God, they're huge. Before we get started, I'm going to need a name for these 2 people. Yes, I'm sorry, they're 2 white males. That's all the artist had, so that's what I had to do. But yeah, let's come up with a name for Mr. Businessman over here. Any names? And if anyone says Henk, you're leaving. You're leaving. I heard Frank. Ingrid, that's even better. All right, some people here can't even pronounce that name. That would be great. All right, Ingrid it is. All right, the person on the right here for you. Theo. Ingrid and Theo. I lost all faith in this talk. So, well, at least it's easy to remember. So Ingrid here, a couple years ago, found out that Twitter was sold for how many billions? 44. Crazy amount. Anyone here have that amount of money in the bank? Okay, well, talk to me after. I have some ideas for you. But that's a crazy amount. He's like, they were like, I'm going to say they just to be sure. Ingrid was like, I kind of want to sell something for that amount as well. That seems like a nice amount of money to have, pretty comfortable. And I mean, what really is Twitter? Twitter's timeline messages. Anyone can build that, right? So I'm going to create my own product. So they approach Theo and they say, I have a business idea, but I have almost no money, as every good business idea starts. So can you build something for me, but at least keep it low budget? Let's get going quickly, and then once it takes off, I want to be able to quickly pick up pace and continue what we had started. Okay, Theo says, I know just a tool for that. We're going to apply rapid application development for that. But what's your business idea? Well, Ingrid says, I was thinking Twitter for jokes. I don't know, maybe we'll call it Gagger. Wait, no, that sounded wrong. When I said it out loud, it just sounded wrong. Let's try something else. Maybe we'll call it Chuckler. And then we'll put the umlaut on the U to make it a little smiley. Genius, right? I designed this, you can tell, I'm a programmer. It's just a font. Anyway, so we have Chuckler, basically Twitter for jokes. So what are the features Chuckler needs to have? Well, we need a register, we need a login, because we want to collect people's details, because that's how tech works. You need to be able to post a chuckle, which is a joke, on your timeline. You need to be able to see a list of chuckles, that's your timeline. You need to be able to give a chuckle a giggle, because that's what likes are. Ooh, it's so silent in the audience. I can just feel you'll love the idea. And you can see the amount of giggles per chuckle. Right. All right, let's get going. I promise it gets better. Does it? I don't know. Okay, so Theo says, okay, well, we got this sorted. Don't worry about it. I'm going to apply everything I learned with rapid application development. and we're going to apply some cool Symfony tricks here. What is rapid application development? Well, it's a pretty broad concept, right? It basically means getting to a point pretty quickly. So you can use rapid application development just to create a proof of concept. Maybe you want to see if something actually works or not, so whether you're able to do it. You can use it to reach a quick MVP, just get that version 1.0 out there so you can launch and get going, get some clients. And you can use it to make sure you focus on what is important. Just leave out all the other details. You just want to get to the actual problem you're trying to solve. Well, if you would ask me, you can split up rapid application development into 3 different sections: process, mindset, and code. This is not an agile talk. I'm not going to be talking to process. So let's dive into mindset a little bit, and then we'll go into code. So, mindset. Anyone here who considers themselves a very puristic developer, they have a very opinionated view of how things should be done, certain architecture they want? I see a few hands. Okay, that's good. Well, I was very much like that, and when you're doing rapid application development, you might need to loosen up a little. You need to let go. You want to focus on what you're trying to achieve, but not every detail is important, right? We're trying to reach that MVP. We're trying to create that proof of concept. So loosen up. Be a bit more pragmatic. Make sure you have clear goals. We love yak shaving. When we get into something, we find something else broken or something not working, or maybe, oh, there's no open source library for this. Let's create it because that'll give us even less time to do other things. Make sure you set clear goals and you don't get distracted. And adjust your definition of done. Is Sebastian Bergman in the house? No? Okay. You may not need tests. All right, moving on. So, mindset done. Let's go on to code. For code, I like to do this thing called agile code. It doesn't mean anything. If you look it up, you probably won't get any results. But what I mean by agile code is creating code that's easy to change. And I'm not saying you're supposed to throw the book of design patterns at your code. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is making sure you recognize the different boundaries you have, the different things you're integrating, and try to keep things flexible, make things a bit plug and play. And if you do have to create something that's complex, that maybe is a little bit dirty, isolate it. Create a little section in your code where you can put that, so when you do launch, you can change that, you can fix that, but it's not all over your code. Code generation. Okay, I didn't hear anyone gag, that's good. Code generation is a bit tricky as well. In the beginning, I was very much not a fan of code generation because it generated code I didn't like. Again, I was a very opinionated developer. But if you want to go fast, like Sonic, you might need code generation. And Symfony has just a tool for that, as do many other frameworks. So let's get started. What do we need? Well, we're going to need PHP installed on your laptop, or you could put a little bit extra time and run it entirely Docker. We'll get into that later. You'll need Docker and the Symfony CLI, which is going to do a lot of stuff for you. Well, what does that look like? Oh, thank God it works. What does it look like? We can do a Symfony new chuckler. We'll use the web app flag to make sure it creates a web application skeleton for us, and it's going to do the composer require and such. There you go. We have our new project. And these are the files. Well, this is just a very bare-bones Symfony project, of course. Nothing special here. And this is what you'll get, a nice Symfony 7 homepage thingy with the beautiful, this is so weird. This thing right here. That's the web profiler thing. Web profiler, I'm saying it right, yeah. It does a lot of things. It gives you a lot of information. And when you click on one of these things, it'll open up the proper full screen profiling. You can see HTTP requests you've done, SQL queries that were ran. You can check out performance and stuff. It's very, very useful. Now, what I like to do is I like to create a little makefile here. Makes things a bit easier. So I have my makefile, and I do a Symfony server stop just to make sure I'm not running anything, and I want to restart anything that's already running. I'll do a docker compose up -d because when you create a web app with Symfony, it's going to create a compose.yaml file. I mean, we used to call them Docker compose.yaml. Nowadays, it's called compose.yaml, so get used to it. Definitely not confusing with Composer. But it's going to create a compose.yaml file, and in there is going to be your database. So you're going to want to run that. Then we'll use the Symfony server, the integrated web server, to get things going. So we do a Symfony server start, the -d daemonizes it. We have a messenger, which is a queue, a long-running process in the background. You get it for free with your web app, so we have to make sure we set up our transports. It's just going to rely on the database. No fancy RabbitMQ or any Reddit stuff, just simple. We don't need it just yet, right? We're not Twitter yet. Maybe a year later. Then we do, and this might be a bit more interesting, a Symfony run -d, which daemonizes it, with a watch flag. So anytime anything changes in this directory, or in any of these directories, it's going to restart the process. The amount of times I've run into issues where I changed code and I was like, why isn't it working? I still had my consumer running on the old code. I forgot to restart it. This watcher is going to make sure it restarts, so no more mistakes there. We'll have a make down, a make till to check out the logs, and make open is going to open up the browser for us. Beautiful. Let's see what this maker bundle is all about. Symfony has a maker bundle that does a lot of the code generation for you that I mentioned earlier on. So when you do a Symfony console help make, this is what you'll get. You see a lot of different things. We see a make auth to create some sort of login, make command, a controller, CRUD, entities, forms, messages. It's a bunch of different stuff. Unit tests, but we're not going to use those. So user, a voter. I don't think I'm making myself very popular here. I swear I'm a decent developer. So let's go ahead and build out our first feature. We're going to build a login. So what we can do is we can do Symfony console make user, which is going to create the user entity for us. We'll do Symfony console make auth, which is going to generate the login form, login mechanic for us. We're going to do Symfony composer require these two bundles, so we can make sure that the email gets verified. So as soon as you register, you get an email sent to you saying like, hey, verify this email address. You click the link and you're verified. We do a Symfony composer require of Symfony cast resets password bundle, so we have the whole reset password flow already integrated, which is also nice. And then we're going to go ahead and make our registration form. We're going to make our reset passwords. Then of course, we got to create a migration for our database, and we're going to execute those migrations. Whoa, okay, that was a lot of commands. What just happened? So if we check out our git status, this is what we'll see. We'll see composer JSON has changed. Obviously, we did a composer require. A few bundles were added. Some configuration was added because we have Symfony Flex. It's going to generate all these configurations for you. Our migration, registration controller, security controller for login, our user entity, our forms, repositories, and so on. And also some templates, of course. They're also very important. All right, let's check it out. This is the part where everyone just prays. Even if you don't believe, just pray a little bit for me, please. Oh, whoa, that's a spoiler. That was not supposed to happen. Okay. I am sorry for blinding people. So here we have Symfony 7 running. And if I go to /register, we have our beautiful, oh my God, it's over there. I'll make it a little bigger. There you go. We have our beautiful registration form. Better than I could have imagined. We are Theo. Is that with, that's like this, right? Yeah. Chuckler.com. Our password is obviously Hunter1. I agree to the terms. Then I go ahead and register. You didn't pray, did you? I told you to pray. Okay, so I'm not going to say this never happened because it definitely did happen before. Let's go ahead and run our, let's just do that again. There you go. We are Theo, chuckler.com. Oh, don't mistype the password now. That's going to be, oh. It's such a difficult password to type as well. This is supposed to happen. Relax. We're good. We're good. Okay, so when it generates this app authenticator, it's not going to put in the redirect for you. If we scroll down, we'll see the little bit of code. And it even tells you, like, you have to put in a redirect there. Fine. Okay, this is acceptable. But at least we can use our little profiler here, and we can go ahead and open up our webmail. When you bootstrap a this is very white, I'm sorry. When you bootstrap a Symfony application, it's also gonna put in mail catcher for you, so any email gets caught. So we go ahead and open this. Please confirm your email. And I have a nice email link here. It's behind me even, sorry. It's right over there. And it seems like nothing's happened, but something did happen. And I can prove that to you. Because as soon as I open up this profiler over here, I can see that it was a redirect from the route that was actually being called, right up there. So I can go ahead and click on this profile from that route, and I can see in my doctrine that it did actually do a update user is verified. So I have some sort of a registration flow, but that's about it. Pretty bland still. Well, that's my first feature done. Nice. Now let's go ahead and introduce Chuckles. Chuckles is not some creepy clown. It's a chuckle. It's a joke. So let's see. I'm going to go ahead and do Symfony console. Everyone can read that? Perfect. We're going to make an entity. We're going to call it a chuckle. The fact that it auto-completed that worries me greatly. This happened to me in Brussels as well. I think I'm going to cry. Let's see here. Well, looks like we already have that. Do we also have a controller? We also have a controller. Am I in the wrong branch? Maybe. Do you know? I hope not. That would be weird. Login registration added. I think we're good now. I think I solved the problem. Yeah. There we go. Symfony console make entity. Phew. Crisis averted. All right, let's create our chuckle entity here. Now, this is going to be very tough to read for you. I'm just going to go ahead and position my screen a little bit like this so you can see it better. So we're going to create a chuckle entity, and we're going to add a property. So the property is going to be a message, which will be the joke. It's going to be text because some people tell really long jokes, and we don't want to cut those off. No, it cannot be null in the database. We're going to go ahead and add an author as well, because someone obviously wrote the joke. It's going to be a many-to-one relationship with user. If you follow DDD practices, please look away. Should allow to be null? No, that would be weird as well. We don't need that either. We're going to add one last property, which is called created@. And in order to recognize, that should probably be a data immutable, so perfect. That's about it. Okay, cool. So we have our entity. Now we're going to need our CRUD as well. So we're going to do make CRUD, and we're going to say it's for the chuckle entity, and it wants to introduce a chuckle controller, which is fine. And what did we say about tests again? Oh God, that's a bad thing I taught. All right. So we have our CRUD, and you can see it created a controller, it created templates, and now obviously we're going to need a migration for this as well. That's what Doctrine does for us. It's going to do a nice diff between the two things. You can ignore that. That's also fine. Yes, continue. Beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to do one more thing, which you should never do in production. And I'm going to abbreviate so you can't tell what I'm doing, unless you're a seasoned developer. There you go. All right, our database is up to date, perfectly according to plan. Let's see here. We still have our homepage. We'll go to Chuckle. Wow. Well, would you look at that? That's beautiful. We can create a new Chuckle. It has a message, but we can also set to create an ad and an author, so that's a bit weird. Let's get rid of those first. I'm going to go ahead and enable presentation mode. There you go. So we're going to change our form a little bit here, because we don't want people to set their own created ads, and we also want to decide the author ourselves. So it's just going to be message. clean up our imports there. We're going to go add it to our entity and create a little constructor right over here. Construct, and we'll pass in a created add. Actually, no, I'm going to set that in there. We'll just request an author. There you go. And we'll say this author is author, and this created add is new data immutable. Awesome. Now we got to go to our Chuckle controller. So when we create this this form, we have to make sure we pass it onto here as well. We'll just do this get user. Great. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. The color is going to change at some point. Can we turn on the brightness? I don't think we can. Okay. So we'll just do haha. This is a funny joke. And I can't even spell, but that's okay. We saved it, and this is our timeline. Great. Well, there you go. We're so efficient. That's another feature done. We can post a chuckle. We can see a list of chuckles. We're on a roll. Now, this is a minimum viable product. It's very minimum. I don't think anyone would accept this. But it works. I mean, all the features are there. So, well, almost all the features are there. But let's try and move on to this idea of a minimum lovable product. Let's turn it into something that works, but also is pretty. If you've not heard of this term before, it's a great term. It's just basically saying, it's nice that your product works, but make it likable, make people love it for whatever reason, whether it's super snappy, very pretty, whatever your target audience is, give it a little extra. Unfortunately, Symfony isn't really pretty. I mean, the homepage was pretty, but aside from that, it doesn't really do much for you. So we're going to need to do some things ourselves. So we can use Symfony Encore. So Symfony Encore is a wrapper around Webpack. You can install it, Symfony Composer require Encore, and then we can install Bootstrap because I'm a backend developer and that's all I know. But Symfony also came up with something different. There's now Symfony Asset Mapper. Anyone here heard of Asset Mapper? Symfony Asset Mapper? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can't count that fast. 10 people. I'm just going to say 10 people. So it's fairly new. And basically the idea is that you don't need any bundler anymore. That sounds scary. I'll explain a little bit more in a second. But you can install Symfony Asset Mapper by doing Symfony Composer require Asset Mapper. And then we'll do a Symfony console import map require Bootstrap. What the frick is that? I'll tell you in a second. The difference between the two is that for Symfony Asset Mapper, you don't have any Webpack to deal with. It just works. No bundler, no watcher. But that does mean that you no longer have this dev server running on the background that can do things like hot and live reloading, and there's also nothing that's going to minify it. But, you know, this is a choice you can make. This is one of those choices where you're entirely free to do whatever you want. In this presentation, I'm going to be using Asset Mapper, but Encore is also a perfectly fine choice here. If you do use Encore, that does mean that we're going to need to run another process. So we can expand our makefile here. We can make sure we do a Symfony run -d, node modules, bin, Encore, dev server. What you shouldn't do is do Symfony run -d, npm run dev server. Because that means that when you do a Symfony server stop, it won't have the right process to be able to kill the Webpack process that's running beneath it. This way, you won't have anything in between, it'll be fine. Trust me, I speak from experience. So, if you also want live reloading, so whenever you make a change in your Twig template, you can put this little piece of code in there, and it'll just refresh your page when you make a Twig template change. Right. Of course, we have form themes with Twig, making it very easy that when we use our Twig template helpers to render a form, it's going to be able to also add all the classes that Bootstrap wants to make it pretty, quote unquote pretty. So let's go ahead and make this pretty. I did it again. Chuckles ahead. Oh, yeah, okay. Also, do not do this. Basically, half of this talk is don't do this. And the rest is maybe do that, but be very wary. There you go. Okay, now, don't worry, I'm not going to be typing all this out. Instead, I have things prepared, which are in a different branch. So let's go ahead to that branch instead. There we go. So I'm just going to show you the diff so you get an idea of what I'm changing. The point of this talk is for me to show you the things that happen. I want to show you that I'm not doing anything extra. I'm not doing any magic behind the scenes. What I'm showing you is the actual steps that I followed. So we have a few changes here. I'm going to do a compare. We're going to want to include our Bootstrap CSS. So we're going to do an import Bootstrap CSS. And because of Symfony Asset Mapper, all these imports, everything just works because browsers understand modern JavaScript. We don't need to worry about that too much. I'm going to use our beautiful font here, which is called OL. And then we're going to apply CSS, which I wrote. So for all the front-enders in the room, please look away. But the cool thing here is, oh my God, it's all the way over here. There's no way you can see that. Let me help you out. I am not used to presenting on a big-ass cinema display. We have our variables here. I think they're called properties in CSS. I think so. But what we also have is nesting. No SCSS, no SAS, no less. It's just nesting, plain old CSS. This was possible since December last year. No applause for that? Hey, the applause is not for me, but it's for modern web, right? We've come so far. Finally, we have nesting in our CSS. I was very happy that I could do it. So, okay, so let's go ahead and make sure that we also take this. Oops, that one's no longer necessary. There you go. All right, well, we have some changes in our source code here. So I will also go ahead and compare. Ignore everything from there. So there's only a few changes. I'm showing a form on the /chuckle route. So from the timeline, you'll be able to create a new chuckle. I'm adding some isGranted check to make sure only users can create a new chuckle. But security is optional when you're doing rapid application development. So I'll just put this in here. I think I just put a space. Oh, we're good. Don't worry. There you go. Also, I've added a redirect for that thing that we ran into earlier. So let's do this. And I touched the templates as well, as my colleagues tell me not to do, but this is my presentation. I get to do what I want. We have the viewport meta name here, the meta tag, to make sure it works on mobile. Haven't actually tested it. And then we're putting all the container fluid stuff around it to make it, bootstrappy and stuff. So we're going to use this one. Here we're changing the edit chuckle page that we saw earlier, making it a little pretty, adding some diffs around it, a span. I'm using the cool columns and grids from Bootstrap. So there we go. We can take that one as well. Oh yeah, our index page is now a bit different because it's going to show us a list of all the chuckles. It's going to be our timeline. So, and then the new template, I wanted to sort of show that in like a little speech bubble. So you'll see later. It's going to blow your mind. Don't laugh at that one. Now we have a registration. Also added a card body around it and a login. Same thing. Did I miss anything? No, we're good. Well, if the demo works. I'm just going to go ahead and do a Symfony console cache clear. It's just a safety cache clear because I'm terrified. Now we're going to refresh. I can see the money. I can see the money. That's not me, by the way. So we have, this is a funny joke, which I typoed. I can edit it now, and then we get this cool thing. So I can say, I'm an idiot. There, save. There we go, changed. Also, our login, yeah, this homepage still the same, but at least our registration page looks somewhat acceptable. People are definitely going to put in their details here. And our login page also looks nice. So I can log in as Theo with Hunter1. Thank God. Okay. Cool. It's pretty. Now let's try and make it nice as well. I mean, pretty subjectable, but that's okay. So let's go ahead and introduce Symfony UX. So Symfony UX is, and I'm going to read from the slide, an initiative and set of libraries to seamlessly integrate JavaScript tools into your application. What does that mean? I don't know, but it makes things look nice. So we have all these different components here. We have Turbo over there. You have some autocomplete, Chart.js integration, React and Vue.js, Svelte, translate, type, notify, swap, whatever. If you go to ux.symfony.com, you can read for yourself what all of these things do. The only thing we're going to be looking into today is Turbo, because they don't allow me more time on the stage. So, Symfony Turbo. Basically, under the hood, it's Hotwire Turbo. Hotwire Turbo is something that comes from the Ruby community. But Hotwire Turbo is what drives it, and then Symfony UX Turbo is what makes sure it's integrated into Symfony nicely, makes it easy. And there's three different components where Turbo consists of. It's drive, frames, and streams. We're going to look at all three of them. So let's dive into Turbo Drive first. So what is Turbo Drive? So Turbo Drive basically changes all of your links and form submissions into AJAX calls. Yes, you heard that right. It's gonna, when you click a link, it's gonna do an AJAX call for that link. It's gonna get the content from the response, and it's gonna replace it into your existing document. Does that seem pointless to you? I know, it might seem a little pointless, but there's some purpose for it. The cool thing is that now we can also do this cool data turbo method thing on our link, and now all of a sudden, this delete chuckle link is going to do a delete request to that URL. That's cool, because before I had to put a freaking form around it to make it work. Yay, finally something that looks like we're actually using HTTP and what it was made for. So how do we install Turbo? So we can go ahead and do Symfony Composer requires Symfony UX Turbo. Then if you're using Symfony on core, you have to do an npm install because it's going to go through npm. But if not, and you're just using Symfony Asset Mapper, then Flex will already do everything for you. It'll do the import map require thing, and we can just do a cache clear. Are the people in the front seat still alive and awake? Okay, because I know I sat there a previous session and I almost fell asleep, and that has nothing to do with the speaker. Okay, so let's have a look. Does it feel like a single-page application now? All these changes, we don't care about those. Bye-bye. 304. Pretty. Yeah, I think we're there. Now we need nice. Do another cache clear. There you go. Sometimes I'm just tempted to do an RM minus RF because it's faster. All right. So let's see if anything changed there. I'm going to go ahead and open up my DevTools. Oh, those will be nicely visible for you. Shush, Chrome, I don't need to know what you're doing. I'm going to do edit here. And we can see, I filtered it on AJAX request, we can see that edit was now an AJAX call. Oh my God, this is amazing. So it gets the response and it replaces the current body. And what that does is it gives you, I guess, a more snappy feel to the whole thing. As you can see, when I switch between these things, it doesn't give you that sort of like flash of loading. It's just seamless. So does this feel like an SPA now? You're not really convinced. Okay, I'll try harder. So let's go to turbo frames. And I'll get rid of this thing over here. So what are turbo frames? Turbo frames, you can decompose these pages into separate frames. With Turbo Drive, we're navigating the entire thing to the new link. But with turbo frames, we can navigate small bits of it. And that's going to allow us to do very cool stuff. Turbo is really something you need to apply a few times to really get what it's doing and to really understand sort of the hidden power behind it. And I hope to give you a little glimpse of that during this talk. So we have a turbo frame here. We can define a turbo frame with an ID, frame 1, and then we can have a link inside that. So when I click this link, now because I'm inside the context of a turbo frame, only that frame on the page is going to navigate to that link. You can do a few fun things with that. There's eager loading, so you can have a source in there. It's going to load that URL. And in the meantime, it's going to show you a little spinner, because we love loaders. They make things feel fast, I guess. We can have lazy loading, so when it comes into your viewport, that's when it starts to load. And, oh dear, you can have targeting. So when you have an edit link, for example, you can say, okay, you have to target that that particular turbo frame. So when you click this link, even if it's outside of the whole turbo frame element, it's going to navigate that turbo frame on your page. So what we can do is we can turbo frame our chuckles. That's a great sentence I never thought I'd say before. So we have turbo frame, ID chuckle. We add the ID to it because it needs to be unique, because IDs need to be unique. And inside there, we'll have our chuckle, just our displaying logic and stuff. Now let's see what that does. Yes. No, you were lost. Nope. So I have a templates pretty here. I'll compare the directories. There you go. Oh no, I've been here before. Synchronize, please. Reload from disk. So, anyone any cool jokes? Don't worry, we're cool. We got this. We got this. This is where it's already added. Okay, I'll show it this way. So here, the only thing, you gotta believe me on this one. The only thing I changed is all the way up there, which almost cut off from the screen. We can see I have the turbo frame. That's the only thing I did. I just put the turbo frame around this, and I put it around the show. So I have a turbo frame around this as well. And you can see they share the same ID. And what that's gonna do is, I'm gonna show you cache clear. There we go. Nope, that's not what I wanted. This one. Oh my god. Okay. Yeah, it's fine. That image comes from somewhere else, and the Wi-Fi is probably doing its thing. Oh, come on, please. I shouldn't have hard refreshed. That was a dumb idea. Well, whatever. So when I click this edit link, you can see that now it's replacing only that particular part. So if I have another joke here, someone give me a joke. Give me a good joke. I lied when I said there was only one part of audience participation. This is the next one. What did the buffalo say when he dropped his son from school? Don't applaud that. Oh. Couldn't you thought of a shorter joke? All right. There you go. So when I edit this, you can see it's only replacing this part. I can say, funny jokes. I can save it. And I didn't write any JavaScript. Oh, this is, I should probably be careful saying that here. I mean, we're a mixed conference here, so I'm just assuming there's all PHP programmers here. Okay, beautiful. So we've implemented the frames. Now let's go to turbo streams. And I gotta go fast here because I think time. So turbo streams, we can deliver page updates to any element on the page. We're no longer constricted to a frame or the entire thing. We can pick any individual element and change them. So what we can do is we can have a turbo stream, and this is what you would return in the Ajax request that happens. We can have a turbo stream that says action append. So it's going to append a bit of HTML to the element with the ID chuckles. So we can say append this particular chuckle. We can say update this thing, or we can say just get rid of it. Turbo stream action remove that particular element. So when you put all of these together, no, I don't want to do that. When we put all these together, we get a turbo drive, which changes links and forms into Ajax calls and replaces the current HTML with the new HTML. Turbo frames make it possible to navigate particular frames. And then we have turbo streams, which allow you to change any element on the page. They build on top of each other. I'm going to add one more ingredient into the mix until we get to the final stage, the final boss. Mercure, which is hard to pronounce. Mercure. It's made by a Frenchman. Mercure is an open protocol allowing to push data updates, server-side events, to web browsers. So we can use this to push updates to any connected clients. So what we can do is we can say Symfony composer require Mercure. It's gonna, oops, sorry, that's a bit fast. It's gonna add all of these things to your compose.yaml. Boring talk, I get it. It's a bit late to leave, actually. Don't worry, you're fine. I'm sorry. I'd have time. So how to use? You can use them in two different ways. You can add the broadcast attribute on an entity, and you can publish updates manually. So you can say to Mercure, here's a little update, or you can add the broadcast attribute, which I'm going to show you. So we have our entity, our Chuckle entity. If we add this broadcast attribute here, we say this is the topic, Chuckles. It's every time something happens to this Chuckle entity, if we create a new one, remove one, update one, it's going to broadcast that update or that removal in that topic inside your Mercure. Then in your template, you can listen for the topic. So we have our diff ID Chuckles, class Chuckles, TurboStream listen, Chuckles. That's the topic that we're listening to. Then what we get is if we have this broadcast template, which accompanies the broadcast attribute for our entity, we can say, okay, so when an entity gets created, this is what you're supposed to be doing. This is the TurboStream action you have to broadcast to everything through Mercure. And we have the update, and then beneath that is the remove. Oh, you're not going to get it. It's action remove. There you go. So, Chuckle time. What's the fee for going over time? It's quiet. So, shame. Oh, I've had a lot of shame. I can handle a little bit more. That's fine. So we're going to do a make up because we added Mercure to the mix. So it's going to start that Mercure server as well, which I shouldn't have done already because I have some things to change here. Oh, sorry. Of course, we're dealing with course, which is great. So let's see here. Compare files. We have to make sure we add our local host to the course origin headers, which is apparently important. Then our templates are going to change slightly. Compare directories. Another fallen. I'm losing people. I got to go faster. I think I make the people feel bad now, and everyone's afraid to leave. So we add our Chuckle stream. There you go. And we make sure we add the TurboStream listener. So this is what I showed you on the slides as well. Then in our source, we're going to make a small change. Oof, there you go. Go away. Which is adding the broadcast attribute here. And apparently something in my assets. I mean, I should know this. Oh yeah, of course. We're enabling this controller. This is part of the setup that you have to do. Trust me, I'm a professional. Which means I get paid to do this, but that's the only requirement to be a professional. So now, I have to do a make up again. Now, we get this cool thing where if I open up two of these, I'll just zip. And if I change this edit, and I say, sorry for butchering the joke, haha, save, it updates on the other screen as well. And this is, no clapping, no time. This is so cool because we didn't have to, again, write any JavaScript for it. So the last thing I'll just rush through, I'm so sorry. Implemented the giggles, which is our last feature. We just add this to our template with our data turbo method post. We add this to our controller to manually publish this update through Mercure. And this will be the template that's being rendered, which is just a new amount of chickles. That's funny. Giggles. So now we can ship it, which means final. That doesn't exist. Main. Sure. Git reset head hard. And we go here. We refresh. Oh no. Someone says no pressure while the door is open. I hear people talking, and I'm probably eating into your coffee break now. you know what? We don't need an example. Basically, if you click the little giggle, it's going to add +1 on everyone connected to it. That's cool, right? So Mr. Ingrid or Mrs. Ingrid is entirely happy with this new project. Look how happy they are. They're sharing with all their friends. They're so amazed. So bidding starts at 10K. Anyone willing to pay me 10K for this project? Oh my God, people are actually willing to. Okay, great. Well, talk to me after. What have you learned? Embrace the mindset, loosen up, get into that rapid application development flow, lean into Symfony Server and the Maker Bundle, use Symfony UX to go from an MVP to an MLP, something that's actually nice to use, and then Symfony will not really help you make it pretty, but Turbo is a very powerful tool. You can do a lot of cool stuff with it. We don't have to write in JavaScript. That's great. These are some resources. You can check them out later. The slides are online. Thank you so much for coming, and I appreciate you. I'm not even going to ask if we have time for questions. If you have any questions, come see me after. I'll be happy to answer them. Enjoy the rest of the conference. Bye-bye.